The Fate of Heroes, starring Patrick, Devin, Rob, Tamara, and John as the Game Master.
And welcome back to Fate of Heroes. And let's start by introducing our player for today, starting with, and only with, Runa.
Hi, I'm Runa and I play Emma.
So now, it is a year later. You have been beginning training. They are teaching you sort of how to use your powers a little bit better. And your focus for your slips in time seems to become clearer and much more interactive. Like you can kind of see people and kind of interact with them a bit. But it's still sort of you're more like a hologram when you get there than an actual person, effectively.
Okay.
So in a way, it's kind of like you're looking at a video of what's going on rather than actually being able to interact all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day you've been learning all of this, and a young man comes up to you, and he has, well, how would I describe him? He's looks like he's in his 20s. He has green, red, pink, blonde hair. He has numerous earrings, and he has a lip ring and all sorts of stuff. And he looks very much emo, would be the way I would describe him. And he has a scar which goes on his eye, across his eye. His eyes are, I can never remember which one's which. I think he's brown, I want to say. I'll correct this if I have to later. Because it's either green or brown, and I don't remember, so I'm going to say brown.
He's got eyes.
He's got eyes, yeah. He's got brown eyes. He is a very well-built young man, and doesn't look like he looks like he's almost like he was in the military. His hair is short, but yeah, multicolored, like I said. And he walks up to you while you're in just after class, after one of your classes, and he says, "Hello, Emma."
Do I know him?
Nope, you have no idea who this dude is.
Okay, I'm taken back by the fact that he knows my name. And I say hi awkwardly.
He smiles and says, he holds his hand out and he says, "My name's Jacob Rasputin Warner."
Okay.
How
I
are
don't
you?
take the hand.
Okay. He looks at you and says, "Oh, hi. Well, my sister and I, well, let's just put it this way. We're lost in time at the moment. And I need you to do me a favor if you could. I do it myself, but I don't trust me, if I'm blunt."
I don't trust you either, if I'm blunt.
He smiles at that and he says, "That's probably the right choice. I'm not known for my sensibility and common sense, to be honest. But with my sister not being here, it's a little easier, but only just." And then he looks and he says, "Look, I was asked by my grandpa to make sure he got a book. And it's a very weird book." And he takes this book out of his backpack and he hands it to you, and it looks like a journal.
Okay.
Do you take it?
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Okay. I take the book.
Do you look through it at all?
Yeah, I'm gonna flip through it a little bit.
And you'll see it's written in a very strange looking language. Not one you're familiar with, unless you want to roll a clever and see if you know how to read it.
Okay, yeah. I'll roll clever.
Okay, cool.
This could go horribly wrong.
It didn't go horribly wrong, but you recognize that it has the shape that looks like Klingon writing from Star Trek.
Yes.
Yeah, you look through the book. It's written in Klingon. At least the introduction is written in Klingon. The rest of it seems almost like it's out of phase. Like the paper's there and the font's there, but the font and the writing on it almost is blurry, would be the way I would describe it. Like if you had glasses and you took them off and you're trying to, and you have my kind of vision, everything looks very blurry and hard to see anything unless it's like 2 inches away from your face. That's kind of how this looks.
Okay. How am I supposed to read this?
Oh, you're not supposed to read it. You're supposed to give it to someone.
Who?
It's a lady who, I guess the easiest word to call her is a soothsayer.
Do you know her name?
She's, it's Lucinda. She lives in Pompeii.
So you want me to go to Pompeii?
Yeah.
How far am I from Pompeii?
Oh, no. You don't understand. Oh, wait a minute. Come with me. And he walks off. Do you follow?
I follow him suspiciously.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. He goes to he looks in a room and he sees nobody's in it and he walks in the room and he leaves his door open for you. And you can see him take a crayon out of his pocket and he starts to draw a rectangle, like a vertical rectangle on the wall. And he says, "It's through here." And he taps the rectangle.
Okay, well, I'm from a weird world, so I'm going to go for it and approach the rectangle.
Okay. As you do, the rectangle starts to glow, and you feel yourself being pulled into it. And he says, "Just make sure you don't get seen by the others. And if my sister comes around, you get out right away, okay?"
What's your sister look like?
Kind of like me, except for she has brown and green eyes at this point. And she's Looney Tunes. And he nods to himself. And he says, "I'll stay here. Just make sure you come back to the location you exit out of here so you can actually get back to here." If you get my meaning.
How do I find this person?
Just go to the market. She'll be the one with the blood.
The blood?
It'll be clear, believe me.
Okay.
And he says, "Good luck."
Thank you.
He smiles and says, "Thank you, Emma. You're doing everything I need you to do." And you step through this portal, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, nervously and suspiciously. I step through this portal.
Yeah. As you do, the humidity that you are used to living on the island kind of steps down a bit. It's a little bit warmer, but not totally so. You kind of come through in a small kind of closety type of room. It is kind of dark, but there is an opening at the end of the hallway. And as you walk through that, you'll enter into what looks to be a very crowded Roman city.
Okay.
There's kind of people everywhere. There's tons of stuff going on. You can see everybody's very active and running about. And so
I'm at a different time.
You are indeed.
Okay.
Yes, it's very much Roman
I should
era.
have known with Pompeii, but you can never know for sure.
That's true, especially around this way. And there is a Roman guard who's walking towards you, and he looks at you and says, "How can I help you, miss? You seem lost."
Which way is the market?
"Oh, you haven't been to Pompeii before. I commend you for coming and visiting us." And he smacks his chest with his arm and then points off kind of in an easterly direction. And he says, if you go that way, the market is over there.
I give him a polite nod and try to blend in. I try to adjust my body language to blend in with the time frame.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, other than what you're dressed in, I mean, you're not total, like, this is a very multi-ethnic area, like probably more than you would have expected.
Okay.
There are people from probably everywhere but like Asia and America there. So there's like African people and people from the Middle East and people from Northern Europe, all sort of mingling about, some of whom are obviously slaves, others of whom are just normal people seemingly. And they don't seem to blink at the fact that you may or may not look different, because to them this is normal. And in a way, Rome is a very multicultural place at this point. There's a distinct layer of who's good and who's rich and who's not, but it's not like out of the ordinary to have someone who looks different, basically, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So as you walk towards the market, you'll see it's very busy. It looks like it's like midday. And you can hear everybody chatting and talking, but then you can hear the sound of someone going, "The blessed goddess!" And you hear this squelch, and you see a podium, and on the edge of the podium, there's blood dripping everywhere, and what looks like congealed and dried blood. And this lady her hands are completely soaked in blood, and you can see she has some sort of organ in her hands, and she's pulling it apart and looking through it, and is telling this person about what obviously looks to be sort of like a prediction on their life. And the person walks away kind of in a bit of shock. And she looks up and sees you and smiles at you.
Well, that's blood, all right. So I guess I will go towards her and offer her the book.
And she looks at you and she says, "Hello, my lady. Can I help you? Do you need a prediction?"
Nope, I have just been sent here to deliver you this book.
Oh. A book. That's very different. I'm not used to those kind of books. Give me a moment, please. And you see her bring a bowl of water, and she washes her hands, and shakes them off and kind of dries them on her toga, and then reaches out and grabs the book and looks at it and says, "I've never seen anything like this before. Is that leather?"
It sure is.
You have no idea.
I do too know.
She says, "This papyrus is very fine as well. This is a most excellent book." And she says, "I must take this to the librarian. Our scroll master will be very interested to read this." She looks through it and says, "Okay, that's interesting. Very interesting language it has there. I don't recognize that. Is that Celtic?"
I honestly could not tell you.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's Brythonic. They're kind of strange people with weird squiggles. She says, she looks at you and says, "Are you sure you wouldn't want your fortune told? I mean, this is a very fine book you've given me. I'd hate to disappoint you."
I'm hesitant because I know that I'm supposed to kind of hurry back without being seen, but I'm also curious. So I'm going to take her up on her offer.
Okay. She's like, "Oh, that's amazing. Okay. I'll make sure the scroll master gets this book, though, for sure. Any other things I need to know about? What is your name anyway, miss?"
My name is Emily.
My name is Lucinda. She looks at you and then says, "One moment." She kind of looks you up and down and says, Cow, pig, or chicken? I think chicken's in order here. And you see her walk back to another stall. She pulls out a cage, and she has a chicken inside of it. She then super quickly just chops the head off the chicken, and then lays it on the podium. Then splits it open and pulls out its heart, and then kind of lays the chicken reverently off of the podium, and then brings the heart out and takes a sharp iron knife and starts to cut into it. And she starts to pull it out. And as you see her doing all of this, you actually will see her eyes start to glow as she's looking at this. And you can see that I mean, it's obvious that her eyes have gone a different color, like they look purple. And the edge of her irises and then the edge of her actual eyelids have glowed quite a bit. So it almost looks like she's about ready to fire a laser out of it, basically. And then it all kind of goes back to normal. And she looks up at you and says, "Oh, well, you're very interesting, aren't you? You're not supposed to be here, are you?"
Yes, I am.
She smiles and says, and points at her head like, "Yeah, okay, I gotcha." And she says, "I think you're going to be meeting a young man soon and helping him out. I see snow, lots and lots of snow." And she smiles at you and says, "So be sure to dress warmly. Lots of furs."
I thank her and mourn the life of the chicken.
And she looks at you and says, "I'm sure by Jupiter you will be safe. Just make sure you don't forget to go back to where you came from." And she points where you came from and says, "Remember, it's down that road and in that small room." And she smiles at you again. She says, "I'll make sure your friends get this book, but I'll make sure the Scroll Master has it first." "Thank you, Emma."
I thank her and offer a warm smile and sneak off in the direction from which I came.
Kind of slick off like, "I don't trust you."
Mother, who was that?
That was Emma, I guess was her name.
Well, who's she and what does she want? And why were you talking to her? And why did you make a prediction for her? I know you don't do this very often, not without money involved especially.
"Well, she gave me this scroll." And Lucinda picks up the book and points it at the young child. "It's a key document, shall we say, on helping some friends of ours. And if my prediction's correct, her friend is going to more than pay us for this as well."
Oh, really? Is it gold? Is it something that'll get us out of here?
"Yes, my child, very much so. So don't worry. Don't panic. Things are going to go just fine. You'll see. You wait and see. Everything will be tremendous."
Okay, Mother. I'm going to go meet up with Otto and try and see if I can convince him to make me another giraffe. Those are so beautiful.
Okay, daughter. But return to me, Michaela, when you are done.
Yes, ma'am.
And you find the portal once again. It is open. And you can
Thank God.
you see your room. You walk into it, and Jacob is sitting at the desk there, and he says, "Well done, Emma. That was awesome. I'm sure Leelui will be very surprised to find out that you're the reason why she becomes the queen, or should I say the king." And he nods, and says, I'm sure we'll be seeing you later, but you won't necessarily see me in this fashion. But please remember that my sister may be a little crazy, but she means well.
Okay.
He smiles and says, until next time, my dear. And he bows and walks through another portal that he's drawn on the wall behind you. And disappears. And the portal kind of reverses its glow and dissipates. And there's just...
So wait, what room am I? Where am I?
You
right
are
now
now in that classroom that he had taken you off into, to the empty classroom on the island. So you're back to where you were.
Okay.
And we will flash forward once more. It is
Time travel.
That's right. So 2 years after that, you are now integrated within the island, and you are very much a part of the organization. You have been inducted into the military because most every person on that island has to be. And you are now you're 18 years old, so you are of age to actually be in the military now. And so you have, as part of that, you have come back to New Saint City, where the first line of defense is. And you are back in your family home, where you started when we started this whole business. And your parents remain on the island because it is the safest of the places to be at this stage. And you are awaiting orders, basically, when you get a phone call. And a person that you know fairly well, but like you've met her once or twice. You know who she is. She's taken an interest in you, but you haven't really been formally introduced and actually met with her. Named Zoe, calls and says, "Hello, Emma. Would you come to the legislature tonight? I need to talk to you."
I'll be there.
She says, "That's wonderful. We may have to go up to the president's mansion afterwards, so be sure to bring regular clothes with you, please."
Regular clothes?
Yeah, not military clothes.
Oh, okay. Okay. You don't like my superhero outfit? No,
You can hear her laugh when you say that, and she just goes, "Probably not. No, not on this occasion, anyway."
I understand.
She You can hear her. I mean, I hate to say the word, hear her smiling, but you kind of can hear her smiling at the other end of the phone, and she kind of giggles a little bit and says, "Anyway, yeah, please meet me at about 8 o'clock tonight, and I'll make sure that the door's left open."
I'll see you then.
Great. The legislature is at the center of town. It was the old state legislature, or not state legislature. It was the old city hall. It is now the national legislature for those that are resisting Eris. And as you arrive, there is security and Secret Service everywhere. And as you come in, a man is standing at the guardhouse, and he says, "Hello, miss, can I help you?"
Nope.
Are you headed into the legislature, ma'am?
Yes, they're expecting me.
Oh, okay. May I ask who? Your name?
Emma. No, I'm Emma.
Emma, yes. Emma Nowicki. He takes down your name, calls ahead, and says, "Okay, ma'am, you're all clear if you want to head in. First door on the left, please."
Thank you.
And he salutes you and says, "Good luck."
I nod politely and follow his instructions.
Okay. As you enter into the building, it's a very large building. Like I said, it used to be a city hall. They've been working on it since then, and it looks more like a legislative building. And there is high ceilings, and basically it gives you that sense of being in a massive complex where you're kind of like a speck compared to the size of the rest of the building. As you enter in, though, you can see a hallway to your left and the room that they've told you to go to. As you enter into the room, there is a lady standing there. She has dark hair, almost jet black. She has bright, piercing blue eyes. And she is considerably younger than you would expect, at least looking on the phone, because she, even though her voice sounds very light and all that, she always came across to you as a very serious looking or serious sounding person. But she is very much I would almost describe her as looking very much like as if she's in her 20s. But you yourself know that she must be older than that because she looked like she was in her early 20s almost a decade ago kind of thing. And she still looks like she's in her early 20s. Like she doesn't seem to age almost.
Okay. How old am I at this point?
You are 18.
Okay.
So you are an adult in every sense of the word. Unless you're American and you can't drink. In some states.
Well, you know.
Yeah, you know. So she is sitting at a desk as you come in, and she looks up at you and says, hello, Emma. Please have a seat.
I greet her and have a seat.
Okay. It's a little intimidating. It's kind of like meeting one of your heroes. You know that she is a part of the superhero group and that she was a critical part in defeating the Nurgle, the bad alien group. So, you know, it's a little bit of a tongue-tying situation. And she looks up at you and says, so I've been talking to the president, and he's made a suggestion that we need to intervene to bring back our lost souls. And from what I understand, you've been interacting with them on occasion.
Yeah.
And she smiles and says, I hope my Lincoln looked okay when you saw him.
Have I seen him? I've just heard his name, right?
Yep, you've never seen him.
Okay, I guess I tell her that.
She smiles and says, okay. I'm sure he's doing okay. That guy never seems to get into too much trouble, except for when he's angry about something.
Wow.
She reaches into, like, there's a drawer in the desk where she's got folders, and she pulls them out, and she hands one over to you. And it has on the title, Alexei Grigory Rasputin.
Does that mean anything to me?
Not really, no, unless you know your history. Then you can have a guess if you'd like to do a clever. Let's see how good your history knowledge is.
Well, like my actual history knowledge, or are we just rolling this dice?
You roll the dice, and
okay.
And we figure out if Emma knows. Let's put it that way. All right, so Emma knows that this is the name of Rasputin, the guy who was the associate of the last Tsar of Russia, who was assassinated by a group of people just before the Russian Revolution, basically.
Okay.
She says, "How well do you know your history?"
I know enough to get by.
She smiles. She says, well, this person here is a bit of an issue, shall we say, in our history, in the fact that, according to our history, he was dead in 1914.
I nod.
According to a mutual acquaintance of ours, he's not supposed to be.
He's not supposed to be your acquaintance?
No, he's not supposed to be dead.
Oh.
At least not then.
Right.
She smiles. She says, "This is going to be very confusing. It's very confusing to me, I'll be honest. I don't understand the timey-wiminess of all this, to put it bluntly. But I need your help. And you're about the only one I know who can do this, because you're one of the few people that can actually make it through time. And I know Jacob," and you hear her kind of say it that way, "helped you get back to the past for a brief moment in time, but we might need you to go back for a much longer duration, if you'd be okay with that."
I think back to the chicken death that I witnessed, and I shiver a little bit. But I cannot say no to a plea for help, so I agree. Hesitantly.
She says, "Well, we wouldn't be sending you that far back again. But we need you to get Alex to Russia. Because apparently he needs to get there. His future self, unfortunately, continues to interfere. And, well, to put it mildly, we need to put a stop to all this. And we need to get our boys back. Well, and our girl, I guess I should say, too. But I don't know Leelui yet exactly."
Can you remind me real fast? I've heard the name Alex.
Alex is, he was a reporter for the New Saint City newspaper. He disappeared almost a year before, well, not a year, about 6 months before CJ and Lincoln tried to get into the warp ship and disappeared. He had what looked like, and she actually brings it up on a computer, and she shows you this video, and you see this man who looks like the cleaner cut version of the guy that you saw before with the beard.
Right, okay.
And he's standing in the middle of this room, and you see him grab his forehead, and you see him looking like he's about to faint, like he's having a heart attack or a stroke. And then his entire frame basically blips out of existence in a massive flash of light.
Oh.
And she says, he traveled back to the past. And as far as we've been able to figure out, based on what Leelui has been willing to tell us, it appears that he went back to Mesopotamia. Like ancient times.
Oh.
And that's where our boys ended up. And then apparently Leelui ended there as well. And ever since then, they've been traveling through time, and they're trying to get back to the present. So with all that in mind, I mean, our initial thought between the president, and myself, has been to get them home, because we're losing, and we need their help.
I understand.
And she looks a bit, not distraught wouldn't be the right word, but a little bit anxious. And she looks up at you and says, I hate to do this, and I hate to ask this of you, but I think if we don't, I think we're going to have further problems. And while they've been okay with not messing with the timeline too much, other than Lincoln's apparent insistence on getting pizza all the time, they've been, for the most part, pretty good. Shockingly so for their attitudes. But we need to get Alex to Russia, because apparently he is Rasputin.
Oh. Okay.
And she smiles and says, I know, it's confusing. If you can intervene, it would help him get to where he needs to go. Are you willing to do that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Just remember, only Alex. The others will figure their own way. But you need to get Alex to Russia.
Okay.
And she looks at you and says, and then we'll deal with all the consequence of this afterwards. Because...
How do I find him?
Come with me. And she stands up and says, come with me for a minute. And she takes you across out the front door of the legislature, and a car pulls up, and you get in it, and it drives you to where the governor, what used to be sort of would be the equivalent to a governor's mansion. And you go there or not the governor's mansion. No, sorry. Correct myself. You end up going to a building which is on the south side of town. It is a fairly well-known building because it's the place where YBC Labs is located at. And she takes you into there and then into the basement of it. And in the basement, which is a very large room, there is this massive circular structure, which has technology throughout it. It is turned off, but you can tell it almost looks like a Stargate would be, I guess, the equivalent, but with a lot more technology around it. It's not like sort of fancy metal or anything. It's just, it's a mass of wires and tubes and various fiber optic cables and stuff, kind of circling this entrance. And she says, Trebin and I have been working on this. We think it can get you there and get you back. And we think it will get you to where they are. And it should get you to Russia after that. And she reaches over on a counter and picks up a small disc. And she hands it to you and says, if you press this button when you have found him, it will take you to the next jump. And then if you press it again, it'll bring you home.
Okay, I'm hearing a lot of uncertainties here. What do I do if I don't end up where I'm supposed to be going?
We don't know. I mean, we've tested it. It seems to work, but other than jumping through, I can't say. If it doesn't work, you can always come back, hopefully. It should recall you.
Okay.
I mean, this is kind of our best chance.
So I use the disc after I get to Russia with Alex, or just after I find Alex?
Find Alex, use the disc. It should then pop you to Russia, and then if you use the recall disc again, it should then take you home.
Okay.
But that you might have to stay with him for a bit to make sure things go well. So I guess what I'm saying is this could be a long-term mission.
I understand.
She smiles and says, I'm sorry to lump this on you. It's unfortunate. I would go myself, but your capabilities and your ability is what makes this work. The rest of us would turn into varieties of, well, not pleasant things if we tried it. So if you're willing to take this on, this is the best we can do. I mean, everything seems fine. And she walks up to the edge of the machine, and you see her touch it, and then her hand sinks into it for a bit. And so basically you see the end of her arm going into this machine, basically. And she comes back out again and says, I mean, everything tests fine. There shouldn't be a problem. If there is, I mean, we can try and bring you back. But
right.
There's no guarantee.
I understand it's risky, but I also understand they need my help. So I'm going to go for it.
Okay. All right. Let me go turn this on. I wish Trevor was around, but unfortunately, duty has called him away. Since he's the one who sort of invented this thing, he'll have a much better understanding of how it works. But, yeah, we got to work with what we got to work with, I guess. And she goes over to a panel and she flips a button on, and you see this thing it starts with a hum and then kind of a little crackle of energy, and then it zooms on, and in the center you see this glow, which looks very, very bright and very sort of in between white blue. And she says, as far as we've been able to calculate, if you jump through there, it will take you to wherever they are currently. Just remember, touch the pad once to take him to Russia. Touch the pad again to go home.
I understand.
And good luck.
Thank you.
She reaches over and hugs you and says, my thoughts are with you. And when you see Lincoln again, can you do me a favor?
What's that?
Tell him that I miss him and I can't wait for him to come home.
I'll deliver your message.
She smiles at that. She says, plus Benjamin wants to race him, and, well, you know, kids. And she smiles again and says, good luck, Emma. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
And I assume you now run into the circle?
Well, I wouldn't say I run into it, but I certainly slowly enter it, yes.
You slowly enter it, and Zoe looks on, wondering if she did the right thing, wondering if she made a huge error in judgment by not telling Emma about the 5-hour deadline that she has before she has to return. Otherwise, it's a one-way trip. She sits and contemplates that and puts her hand on the desk and then turns off the machine, leaving nothing but silence where there had been an unholy noise for quite some time. Well, there's nothing for it now. Hopefully, in the end, she's okay. Take care, Emma. Please be safe. We'll have to find out what happens at some point in the future. And Runa, where can we find you online?
My Twitter handle is @GemRuna, and then on YouTube and Twitch, it's RunaGem.
Thank you guys for listening, and we hope you'll check out all the things we do on distractionsmedia.com. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Fate of Heroes. All right. Well, until next time, everybody, thank you very much. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
This has been a Distractions Media production. For more information, you can check out everything we do at distractionsmedia.com.